Hello, Mrudul. Thank you so much for joining the show today with us.
Hi, Carol. Good morning. Pleasant day today.
Good afternoon from China. Okay, cool. You are the CEO and co-founder of Mankomb, a hardware sustainability startup based in India. You believe that people shouldn't have to choose sustainability. Can you elaborate on that? What does that even mean?
Look, today, not many people wake up telling, hey, today I want to be sustainable. That's not what most of us do. There are some people who do that. From a very young age, especially in the Asian cultures, I can tell that is that we learn to conserve resources. We know that we should save water, but there we go. For every glass of water that we drink, the purified water, we are wasting 2 or 3 glasses of water somewhere else. Now, that is not by choice because that's the only water that we have here, and we need to drink water. Now, that is what we have fundamentally questioned here at Manco. So today, we are forced to sometimes waste resources simply because that's how the appliances work. Today, for example, water purifiers. We know that we should not have wet waste bin inside the house. We learned that in school. My daughter learns that in her third grade. But yet we have these wet waste bins inside a tiny apartment with flies, cockroaches, and whatnot. It attracts pests. So today, there are a very few people who go out of their way to live sustainably. So these are the people who compost in their houses. They store this excess rainwater in buckets, etc. But that is very niche. So at Mancom, what we're trying to do is we are trying to change this entire living from being niche to norm. Today, we believe that a lot of people are not living sustainably, not because they don't want to, because of two reasons. One, it is economically not feasible. And two, people simply don't have the time to do it. And hence, at Mancom, we are creating technologies that make it the automatic part of life without people even realizing it. And that's what we are setting out.
You are absolutely right. I mean, today, sustainability seems like something that takes lots of effort out of us, right? For example, if I want to separate and categorize my trash, I have to put extra time, extra effort to it. That's often one of the reasons that prevent people from switching their lifestyle from being normal, like how we live today, to a more sustainable kind of living. I think you are tackle a very meaningful and valuable issue today we are facing in the society. So, what is your main product? I saw that Mankind, right now you have a product that looks pretty cute. It's like a smart bin or something put into our household.
So we are working on three themes basically. We are working on sustainable air and soil management, water management, and energy management. And the flagship product that you have seen out there is called Chewy. So Chewy is a kitchen appliance that can take any type of kitchen wet waste, which includes meat, bones, fluidy stuff, soups, that noodle ramen soup. It can take anything. And we use a combination of biochemistry, biomechanics, apply AI to it, and we are able to today convert this into what we call as regen soil within just 8 to 40 hours. And that's what we're doing. So basically what it means is that in the households, you just dump and forget any waste that you generate at the time of cooking, after eating, you just dump and forget. And all the user has to do is completely forget about the hassle of wet waste or waste management. At the end of the month, what you have is a dust bag that has regen soil in it, which can be used for potting, gardening, or even exchange to local farms that are into organic farming. So this is what the product is about.
It's a very interesting name. So you literally imitating human behavior like our mouths, how we are chewing foods, right? We are digesting the waste food you are feeding into this smart being and then turn it into something valuable. Like
Absolutely,
nutrition,
absolutely.
like nutrition for human body.
Absolutely. It's a more profound thing than what we come to realize today. At a lot of places, for example, we eat these tasty fruits, vegetables, etc. We seldom realize the effort involved in growing it. There are a huge amount of fertilizers that are required because these essentially give us magnesium and say manganese and other nutrients. But the same nutrient is taken from the soil. Now, effectively, by putting the trash back into Chewy, what the user is doing is putting these nutrients back and converting it to soil, which otherwise would have rotten in a landfill, which goes to waste. It's now going back to the soil. And when this soil is used for farming again, we are completing the soil cycle. And that is something that we're accomplishing here as well with Chewy. And hence the name Chewy. And by the way, we probably are among the very few products in the market, which is in addition to biodecomposing, also breaking down meat and bones, because that is one of the tech stacks which has prevented wide-scale adoption of these products in the market. We are among the only few products which can take liquid foods into it. Like, say, I have soup today and I have a smart pen at home. I typically couldn't put soup into it because you're not allowed to put liquids into a smart pen. But Chewy can do that, and hence the name Chewy, because it happily chews anything you put in your kitchen. That's what's behind the name.
Now I'm curious, how long does it take Chewy to complete one cycle of, turn the waste you put into it into the soil and churns it out?
Coming to the timing, it's very important to tell you this. At Mankomb, we believe in the philosophy of not being intrusive in people's life. So even our products are built with the same philosophy that number one, we are not going to ping pong ding dong the end user using app notifications or the product dings. We're not going to do that. And two, the user has to interact with the product only when absolutely necessary. So this is, for example, while putting the wet waste into the product and at the time of collection. So what we've done is the entire collection process. So while the wet waste must be put in as and when you generate, which is a desirable feature today, right? You have wet waste in hand. What do? Put it into the bin. And that's exactly what Chewy supports. However, collection needs to be done only, say, once in a month or once in 2 months, as and when the bin gets filled with trash. And that's the only time when we send a notification telling, hey, your bin is full, you probably want to give it away or exchange it to your farmland nearby or use it for potting. That's how we do it. But to answer your question, we typically take between 6 hours and 40 hours, depending on what actually goes into the bin. But the user is not aware of what time Chewy takes because the entire thing is fully automated. There is no intervention at all necessary from the user in the biodecomposition process.
You are truly trying to make the process as effortless as possible. However, no matter how effortless it is, hardware is still notoriously tough to build and scale. Hardware is hard, right? And what was the most difficult moment in Mankomb's journey so far?
Well, yes and no. Yes and no that hardware is difficult or easy to build. I would say this because, I have spent the last decade and a half of my career actually only doing this, that is building and scaling hardware solutions, products in the B2B space, in the B2C space. And one thing that I can tell you with absolute surety is that if we get the fundamentals right in a hardware product, the adoption and scaling is infinitely easier than a software product. That is number one. However, the premise to building such a product is competence. Now, at Mankomb, we believe that we need 3 primary ingredients to build a successful hardware business, which is common even in the software side of things, which is passion, purpose, and skill. Passion and purpose the team has. The co-founders bring skill to the table, and we have the skill to design, develop, go to take such a product to market, scale these. One of the areas where we have found it continuously challenging has been our ability to rapidly prototype the electronics pieces of these. Simply because we do not yet have, at least in this part of the subcontinent, facilities that can do rapid prototyping of electronics products. Simple things also we get stuck in fabrication. For example, as simple as aluminum welding is something which is very niche in this part of the country, simply because what we manufacture here is probably made of plastics, FRPs, iron, etc. Home appliances can't be made that way. If it has to be sustainable, it needs to be made of materials which are recyclable. And that is what we are extremely focused on. And hence, these are some of the areas where we find the challenges. But I should park this question with this one thought with you, Carol, is that we are not actually building hardware product, I would say, at Mankomb. We believe that we are building Zen, a little more Zen in the kitchen, so that people can live effortlessly and happily. And that's what is our mission and our purpose.
I like this concept. You are building Zen in the kitchen. It's much better than just building a home appliance. All right. However, we still know that deep tech hardware company requires lots of upfront investment, right? And often such type of startups are not as attractive to investors as software unicorns. How did you overcome this challenge when you fundraise?
You're absolutely right over here. Look, I have been actually in my last roles also in places where I have been assessing startups from a much larger MNC on buying them out or making strategic investments. So I have been in the investment scenario for some fair amount of time, the last, say, 8 to 10 years. Now, one thing I can tell you with absolute surety, which has been evolving, is that there is no more concept today about SaaS versus product or deep tech versus not deep tech, because any product today has technology at the core. But what I can tell you with absolute certainty is that the tide is changing. That is, investors today, from my conversations, aren't chasing unicorns anymore. Yeah, what they want is durable and meaningful companies that is actually creating value on the ground. And this still excites some bunch of investors. So at Mankomb, for example, we are building a real solution to a real problem that we think can finally move the climate needle. We have a defensible tech stack, and what we are also building is an aspirational product as such, Chewy, for example, in a completely neglected category. And hence, we are leading with value and not with valuation. And this has what has got our early investors and early supporters on board.
Do you believe public funding has a role to play in this type of hardware startups, especially towards sustainability, for example?
I would say that public funding is important, but where public funding is used and how it is deployed is also important. So the answer is yes and no. Now, a lot of people mistake public funding to be free money, to be driven for topics which usually don't have outcome. And that is coming not because public money used for sustainability is not being used for the right causes, but because a lot of people today still think today, that sustainability is the government's problem. It is not their problem. That's what a lot of people think today. And hence, what you see in the sustainability space are a lot of not-for-profit organizations. Now, the problem with not-for-profit organizations that they do a lot of good things, and I am completely in support of what they do. But for driving a worldwide impact, such as climate change, that is simply not enough. We need to have market fundamentally right businesses, solutions, and business models. And that's what we are trying to fit in here. So public money for driving pure R&D, pure science is a necessity because the fundamentals need to be built. But to convert this into something which makes sense for end users to use, that is USABLE, usable, that is up to you and me to build products which can take tech from this public funding and convert it into something useful. So here, I think it is more the role of private VCs, family offices, and also founders and tech geeks to put in their time and effort to create something which is of fundamental value rather than the government doing something. And each of us need to play our parts. Carol.
Absolutely. You mentioned that a past failure led you to Mankomb. Can you share what happened back then and how that experience shaped your path today?
Look, I have failed multiple times in the past, and I have told you I have been in the business of building, scaling hardware products all through my career, and I have failed multiple times. Now, one of the things that I would like to speak about here is the last role which I played, where I was leading the automotive and the industrial solutions business for a company. Now, one of the key fundamental flaws when I ran the industrial solutions business was that the product that we launched was just too early for the industry. So basically, it was a vision system that used artificial intelligence to look at defects in the production line. Now, these are used commonly in the production line, but if you have to look at, say, painted surfaces, if you would have to look at, say, very microscopic level defects, it is possible today with technology, but it's unbelievably expensive. Now, what we quickly realized is that while it is technologically possible, it is economically unfeasible, and the customers out there, the manufacturing facilities, were not yet ready to adopt these technologies into their production line because they're very used to the manual process of doing things. They still have a large manpower, and the technology is also not that mature to give them 100% accuracy, which is necessary in manufacturing. You can't say that, I make 10 cars and probably one car has poor paint. You can't sell the products that way. And that was where we miserably failed in technology. But what I learned from that is that the opposite of a good idea is a good idea. The same team, the same technology stack, and the same product portfolio, we pivoted to the automotive side of things. And there we had a winning product. The same team. But what was different there was the timing. The automotive industry itself was advanced enough to consume AI, to consume vision AI in ways that was unimaginable 5 years ago. The industrial manufacturing, maybe not yet, but automotive end users, yes. And that is where we were able to make money out of. And that's where one failure with a little bit of, economic drain and bad times, but a little bit of thinking and pivoting led to good times. Yeah.
Yes, a good product is not enough. Good team is not enough. Sometimes you have to have the right timing and the market has to be ready for it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The ecosystem is very important, especially with new technologies.
All right. Today, AI has transformed software and everybody is talking about AI, especially since ChatGPT was born, everybody is using it. Even my parents are talking about it. But AI hasn't truly entered home sustainability. How does Mankomb use AI in a way others haven't?
Before I answer that question, I should tell you that one of the very misunderstood and misleading fact about AI, artificial intelligence, is that it's intelligent. AI is fundamentally not intelligent. It is an algorithm or a set of algorithms that can take group of inputs and can process it really fast. So if someone tells me that AI can do tasks very fast, can create scenarios, etc., yes, AI is best used for that. However, it cannot synthesize something entirely new, which doesn't exist. That's a challenge. Today, what we see is a trend of AI being used even for mundane tasks, which otherwise should have been done by people. For example, writing poetry. That is misuse of AI. Writing softwares. Okay, to some extent, yes, it automates, but a fundamentally new software, I have my doubts. Paintings are made by AI. Now, what happens as a result of this is that in course of time, you would have very similar looking paintings everywhere. You would have very similar looking software codes everywhere. You would have very similar looking emails everywhere. Today, a lot of emails I receive, I can smell ChatGPT in it. I can smell Gemini in it. Yeah, people use that left and right. Now, look at this trend of Ghibli today. It's become a trend where everybody has this Ghibli cartoon of themselves, the profile picture, right? Now, the first week, it was novel. Now everybody has it. So what's the differentiator? There is no differentiation. And that is where AI has its limit. So we are unfortunately living in a world where AI is doing all the misunderstood to be innovative tasks, misused for doing the innovative and the interesting tasks. And people like us are ending up washing the clothes, washing the vessels, doing the laundry and other chores at home, which is unpleasant. So coming back to the topic, AI can definitely make things faster and can also make things very simple and easy. And today at Mankomb, we are using this AI, this exact AI, to transform any sort of task which is unpleasant and uneasy to do and which is repetitive into something which is completely seamless and handled by AI. So Chewy, for example, throwing out the trash, cleaning the trash bin, taking the trash out is unpleasant. Nobody says, I enjoy taking the trash out, I enjoy cleaning the wet waste bin. No. Yeah, it's unpleasant. And that is what we are using AI to automate. So that the unpleasant things is done by the tech, whereas the pleasant things, that is the freed up time for yourself, is used to sip a cup of tea or coffee or to make a painting. That is how we are seeing tech at Mankomb.
So Mankomb is making use AI to do the right thing, right? Wonderful, wonderful. Now let's talk about productivity and your hack for it. Everyone wants to be productive. In a world filled with constant distractions, per your view, as an experienced entrepreneur, how can one maintain the focus and persistence to stay productive?
Some people call me nuts for this. I made a resolution to myself, by the way. This was 10 years back when CRM was completely manual, that I would respond to every email I would receive in my inbox. Today, I know that CRMs are automated. I get millions of junk mails, but every Friday, I take half an hour to respond to all of them. Because I know that at the end of the day, there is a human sitting somewhere who's looking at numbers, results, and probably maybe one in a million clients writing back to them, a human writing back to them. And that is the element of surprise that I want to give back to the folks who are working on this level of automation and etc. etc. Now, what I have come to realize as a part of my belief systems is empathy is at the cornerstone and center of everything. We as human beings can't control what automation CRM bring in to bombard emails to you, or what automation say Instagram or say YouTube brings in to promote irrelevant reels and ads to you so that you continuously keep scrolling. I cannot control that. But what I can control is how I feel about it. What I can control is my choice, whether I use this time to look at this or whether I use this time to stay focused on work and move things forward to make life better. So this is a conscious choice that I believe that we all can make. And this is the same ethos that we have also carried to our product in Mankomb.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing your hack for productivity and your insights on how to make your time most valuable. Right. Cool. Yeah. So because you are an experienced entrepreneur, you have built successful startups. And what would be your number one piece of advice that you will give to someone starting a deep tech or climate startup today?
I would say just three words: just do it. I hope the brand doesn't come back suing me for using that. But I think this is Carol, the right place at the right time. We are in the right place at the right time, wherein people are sensitive to climate issues, where people want to live sustainably, where technology is everywhere. It is not in a very niche place. Technology is everywhere. It's on the phone, it's on the TV that we watch, it's even on the video conference we are using. So technology is not new to us. It's about what useful things we built on top of this. And the ecosystem that we have today is quite supportive to build a deep tech, climate tech product. Today, it is the right time, I believe. Now, a lot of ideas look stupid before they're genius. And we are sort of at that time. So I was, say, 8 or 10 years back at the cusp of, in the automotive world, should we go EV or should we go internal combustion engines? And this is around the time that I was working out of Wuxi in China. And this was not a question anymore. In certain parts of the world, it's electric is the way, electric is what is mainstream. And today we see that in rest of the world, electric is getting mainstream. There are challenges, of course, but it is. It is the same scenario that EVs versus ICE debate that we had 8 years back, that we are today on should it be deep tech, climate tech, or should it be something else? Now, a lot of us, when it comes to these topics, we get stuck in debates about what is going to be the ARR of our business, annual recurring revenue of the business. We get stuck in debating to the last two decimal points of the assumptions and hypotheses we make of our new business model. That's because for some reason we are trained to quantitatively put everything that we think is going to probably happen in the future, which I believe is the most inefficient use of time and money. Now, what I would ask any entrepreneur is, the first question to ask is, what I'm building, is it usable for the end user? Is it going to make a difference in the life of the end user? Because all the end user asks is, can I use this? Is it useful? These are the only two questions anybody asks. They don't ask what is going to be the ARR financial position of this company. No. When they look at a product, they ask themselves, can I use this product and do I need it? And that is the only question that the entrepreneur needs to ask. Is this product going to be usable? Is the end user going to use it? And if you start with this hypothesis versus all the number crunching and Excel fiction, you are already winning 80% of, you are already at more than 80% of probability of success. The other 20% is definitely execution. And that is my only advice.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Let's finally talk about the stage of Mankomb and your next move, your next plan for Mankomb. So where are you now in terms of product development? Are you already in the market available? Are you already gaining revenue or pre-revenue stage? And what's your next step?
For a very long time, Carol, home appliances have worked in a very specific way. So you plug in a refrigerator and it cools food. You put clothes into washing machine, it washes. And today, if AI can create art, AI can also look at dirt in the clothes and adjust the wash cycle. Some of them claim to do it, but it's not effective today. And the products which are effective in doing that is economically unviable. It's only course of time before we get there. So at Mankomb, what we said is that we are going to make AI home appliances economically viable. And that is the only thing that's going to make sustainable living effortless. So Chewy is our first step. And today we have double-digit Chewies in homes, where primarily we are in the stage of getting more of user feedback, user experiences, so that we know that when we are scaling it to 4 and 5 digits, we are getting the product right. We are getting the user experience right, which is very important for us. So we are built on user experience as a philosophy and not as technology as a philosophy. We use technology as a leverage to create user experience. Now, we are sitting on 4-digit number of pre-bookings, and quite a few customers are also awaiting deliveries. I mean, to be honest, we are also delayed the production by at least a month and a half. This is so that we can get the UX absolutely right before we get into the market. Now, what we are doing here very silently is something that probably the end customer would not realize at this point of time, but as they begin to use the product, they will get to see it. So that is, we are using something called as software on a hardware architecture. That means all the hardware is now already going to be a part of the product. So even the double-digit units that we have in the field have all the hardware inside it. Now, it is only a matter of time that we build, test, and validate the different variation and features of software in our lab here in Bangalore headquarters, and click a button and flash this and update all the bins sitting worldwide. So this is something that we can do today. And alas, the users have new features, new intuition, etc. So this is what we're doing. That is one on the software built on hardware stack. So this is fundamentally different in the home appliance space that we're doing. A second thing that we are also doing at Mankomb is we are going to something which is of a very modular, seamless architecture in home appliances built. For example, imagine this. So we have module A, motor, plus module B equal to Chewy. And by the way, we have created module A to be a super silent drivetrain where when you run this motor, you can hear yourself breathe. It's that silent. And that's our innovation unabated. Now, module A plus the same silent motor plus module C equal to a water purifier. Now, I can also take the same motor, reduce the number of windings, put it in another mold and offer it as a mixer grinder, which makes no noise. Completely silent. It's not about insulating the mixer grinder noise. It's about a motor, a mixer grinder that makes no noise. And these are what's keeping us excited here at Mankomb. And these are the things that we're building now. And we believe that this sort of architecture, while it's quite new in the home appliance space, it has been tried and tested in other domains, in other technology areas. And this will help us to rapidly scale and introduce new products and portfolios in the market. And that is what is keeping us excited here at Mankomb.
What a beautiful story of Chewy and of Mankomb you have shared with us today. Thank you so much for sharing story and your insights.